Hi, this is Jerry King, and I am back with another segment of Four Pillars of Destiny. And today I'm going to be talking about a specific topic where how do we spot um, people who are cunning, who scheme, possible thief, or it could be something as simple as someone who's always um, looking at just basically looking after himself and being selfish um, and trying to do things to deceive others. So here we go. It's going to be short here today. Um, so a chart of an evil and or cunning person. So when it comes to evil, it doesn't have to be someone who's always an evil doer. It could be someone who just wants to do something that benefits himself. This isn't something that we can blame them for because they were born with that type of personality. So, what to look for in a thief, a schemer, or evildoer, kidnapper, etc., etc.? Well, the three big ones are the killings, the hurting officer, and the rob wealth. Sometimes not necessarily just these three gods in the 10 gods. So obviously, like your killings, um, people always generalize and think that it's always bad to have killings in the chart, which isn't true because it depends on the flow of the chart itself as well. Um, so killings can also be just a controlling element. But when you have a lot of the controlling elements, in my books, I mentioned that when you have a lot of controlling elements, it suddenly becomes killings. The same with the output too. When you have a lot of output, so people always wonder what's the difference between eating God and hurting officer. I explain it in my books already, so you can have a look at that if you're confused. But to make a long story short, the eating God basically is your output as well. And having a lot of that, we can also relate it to it being the hurting officer. And last but not least, having the rob wealth in the chart. So basically the same element as the self. So if you have all three, like if you see a chart which has all three of these in a chart where they are kind of combative, um, there's a possibility of a person being cunning. I've also have a few examples written in my books that you can take a look at as well. I think it's in my Potential and Career Wealth book, and there's quite a few examples of how people could be cunning and wanting the focus to be on money. Okay, I have an example coming up here. So this is a person that's born in 1955. Um, so year of the Yin Wood Goat, month of the Yang Metal Dragon, Yang Earth Dog Day. So in 1991, he robbed an armored car vehicle, and he stole approximately $100 million of Hong Kong dollars. And during that time, he was in a rat cycle and he was captured but released. They couldn't. It's it was a long case. It's a famous case in Hong Kong. If you look it up, you'll probably be able to figure out who this person is. Um, yeah. So basically, he got released, and they weren't able to put him in jail. Went through the court proceedings and all that, and he was able to get away with robbing an armored vehicle. Um, and this person, he also kidnapped a couple of rich people and, and for ransom, and he was able to get the money. He was able to escape partially. However, in 1998, he was captured. I have this uh, Chinese phrase right here, "Hu San Du Se." So what does that mean? So this is I wrote a bit of this in one of my books as well, and I'm going to explain this a little bit further because this usually affects your ability to speak, and it can also lead to imprisonment. Obviously, the other big one is the Seunggun, Gingun, Waiwo, Batun. And I also talk about how, so the Seunggun representing the output, seeing the officer or the controlling element, the Gun, White Wall Batun. So possibility of getting into massive lawsuits, and possibilities of doing ungrateful deeds. I'm just putting it in a nice way, ungrateful deeds. It could be something as bad as killing, murdering, robbing, and so forth. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, so basically, if we look at this chart itself first, we have to classify, and obviously there's a lot of earth in this chart. There's also a lot of hidden wood in this chart. So the interesting part about this is it's very difficult for this to follow a specific flow, even though there's a lot of earth in it. We have to, when we look at Bazi charts, we also have to consider a person's past events, what happens in certain cycles, and see, oh, okay, what elements fit into that specific chart. And sometimes people might say, oh, well, you're just telling the story after the fact. Obviously, it'll fit into the chart. And sometimes it is true. It's better to have the facts, right? And then you can fit in the story, you can fit in the chart, you can fit in the elements, right? It's not dots is not 100% bulletproof, but in this case, when looking at this chart, sometimes you might just think, oh, there's so much earth in this chart, let's just go with earth, right? It doesn't work that way though. However, because when we look at looking back at that rat cycle, obviously he robbed, he stole a lot of money, but he was also able to escape. So it's possible that he might like the water element too. That's also possible because he was able to escape. He has his freedom, right? But freedom also comes from the metal element. So the metal element in this chart is very important. The yang metal, I'm not missing a metal here. Anyways, that's a yang metal month right here. This is very important to his chart because it represents his ability to speak, his freedom, and there's some strength in it too because there's earth supporting it. And this metal is also controlling this controlling element, the wood. So this is under control because the wood can also stir up the earth. It could also stir up problems when you have too much wood. Um, if there's too much wood, it can be too overpowering for the output. If you get what I mean, like, because sometimes the output, just because you have, in this case, metal, doesn't mean the metal can fully control all the wood that you throw at it. Imagine if you're trying to saw wood in front of you, and you keep throwing wood and piles of wood. That saw is eventually going to get damaged, right? So just because one element can control another doesn't mean that you can put more into it and suddenly, oh, this metal's gonna be able to control it, right? So going back to this chart, the metal is obviously the one of the useful gods. I would say the key symbol in this chart. So any damages to the metal is not good. So I'm gonna bring this up here. I'm just trying to get rid of this. So what we have here is the chart, right? So in 1998, just gonna add this. 1998 was the Wu. That's kind of odd. Just Wu. There you go. Wu Earth, if I can find it. Doesn't seem to like. There you go. Wu Yin Tiger. I'm also using a new computer, so it doesn't recognize my saved symbols in my pinyin. So in 1998, we have this. Okay. And he was in this cycle of Yi Hai. Oh, has that there. So what we see here is what I just talked about. So he has metal right here, and it's controlling the wood, but now suddenly you're throwing more wood here. And then now there's a fight to combine. So this one's being occupied. So remember what I said about the metal, the output representing his freedom. And now he's losing his ability to speak, losing his freedom, because it's occupied. And if we go back to that slide here, when I said 相官見官為和八端相官, the output, I relate this to the 相官, even a 相官, the herding officer, even though it's still eating God, this can still be applicable to this. Now, with more controlling element, obviously not good. And then we look at the year as well. So now he's encountering another rival, um, the same element as himself. And then he's in a tiger year, tiger combining with the dog. I'm going to use red here. And that makes more fire, right? So when we look at fire, fire represents the resource, right? So fire equals resources for this chart. Metal equals output. So what we have here is the fire attacking. Actually, we could do this. Resources attacking output, right? And what this leads to is now this output that we have here. It's like a chess match here. In the month, this is being burned. So you lose your ability to have speech or freedom. And this goes back to this one right here. What we call in Cantonese, we call it Hiu San Dut Sik. How come I can't copy this? Anyways, it doesn't matter. So this is applied to this scenario. And obviously, when you have that applied to this scenario, it's not good. Hyosan represents the resources. Dut Sik, your output being taken away. So resources attacking output. So that's what this means here. And this is a very important term because this can relate to many different things. I wrote about it in my relationship book, and you can actually read about it in terms of how it affected a woman's life when you have something like that happen, right? So this is usually not a good situation to have. And eventually, when you have this sort of scenario, imprisonment might be one of the outcomes. It doesn't have to be imprisonment. It could be someone that is working in an office, didn't do anything wrong, or maybe did something wrong, either or, and then suddenly being accused, and this person can't say anything, and eventually he loses his job. So these are the types of scenarios. So what we do as Bazi readers, we have to find a way to translate this information to real life, and it applies differently to each and every single individual, right? Just because this person is a robber doesn't mean that your next door neighbor is a robber who has the same chart as this. It does not mean that way. He could be a different type of person where he's at work and then suddenly he gets let go for some unknown reason or some bad reason. He could be stealing from a vending machine, I can give you a gazillion scenarios. There's millions of people out there, millions with this type of a chart. So going back, I just want to summarize. So the three main things to look at is your killings, your herding officer, and your rob wealth. So if we look at this chart, you got your, where's the killings right here, hidden underneath the wood as well. You might say, oh, this isn't killings, this is controlling officer, or direct officer. But when you have a lot of controlling elements, you got 1, 2, 3, 2 hidden, possible that it's the killings as well. I'm just saying that you have a controlling element there. That's something to consider. And then now you have this also, this metal, well supported by the earth. The metal being the output. You would probably call this the eating god, but also we can relate this to the herding officer. And then you got your rob wealth, lots of earth. Okay, hidden earth, yin earth, yang earth, yang earth, and then you got yang earth here. So rob wealth. So basically, there's a person that is very restless, obviously, and very stubborn as well with all that earth. Restless and stubborn earth, wanting to do something, wanting to show himself, and show himself up against the law right here. So basically, I'm just trying to piece together their information where you can just brainstorm, think about, okay, a person with a lot of earth, a lot of what we call raw wealth, will output, and then with quite a bit of control, quite a bit of law in it, and the output wanting to control law. So basically, you can use your imagination to figure out what kinds of scenarios can happen when this person goes into a bad cycle. And that's it for today. I don't think I have anything else to add, but yeah, this is just a type of chart where I felt that, oh, this is interesting, because I was just reading up on this person, and then I see all this stuff going on, and felt that I wanted to give an example where this is a little bit more complicated, because we're looking at so many different features. We're not only looking at flow. It's simple, just look and say, oh, okay, here's your useful god, we're done, and then we don't know what to say, right? You find your useful god and you go, oh, this is a good element, that's a bad element, and that's it. But we want to, if you want to dive into it more, you have to understand the 10 gods. Okay. So yeah, if you like this video, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting up more videos as we go. Okay. So yeah, that's it for now, and have a nice day.